Hello, everybody, and welcome to Cosmere Connections. We're a bunch of book-loving nerds trying to find the secrets of Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere series as we reread the entirety of its story from Book 1 to Book 16 billion. Today we are joined by Swiggity Swoo.
These bones do have keen senses, Master.
John.
I am the Sanderlanch.
And Kay.
Do not forget the love oath you have made to each other this evening. It will give you much strength in the days to come.
Cute.
And today we are going to be talking about Mistborn, the Well of Ascension, Part 4, Knives, the final five chapters. Final 5 chapters.
Sounded like you wanted to say the final empire there.
I didn't know 4 chapters or 5 chapters. This is the first time we did 5 chapters in a little bit.
We did 5 chapters last time.
No, we didn't.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, we did. I did too.
Okay, I'm going to be redoing all that at the end when we have Dragon here, though, so this is just to get us on the mindset.
Alright.
But I am the Sanderlanch.
That was a pretty
Probably
good
not.
impression of Tensoon. I was pretty proud of
I
it.
thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I was like, this is coming out exactly how it sounded in my head.
And we can finally call him Ten soon.
Yes! That's what I wanted to bring up. So,
Right. So
we have been terribly trying to avoid not saying Tensoon instead of Orsier. It has been downright difficult.
That was really
For some of
satisfying
us.
to just call him by his name.
Also, unlike last time a Mistborn was killed, we are not here in mourning because some of us are pretty happy that Zane is dead.
Yeah.
I think most of us.
I can think of one person who might be disappointed.
He will be showing up later.
Alright, do we want to get started then?
Sure. Let's start with chapter 44. That one belongs to me. I'm very energetic tonight because I did not sleep yet, because I'm still on Eastern Standard Time. Chapter 44. But must not even a madman rely on his own mind, his own experience, rather than that of others? Breeze watches Set's army leave with concerned clubs. They realize that the end is nigh and Straff can easily use the Koloss for his own advantage. Breeze comments on his straightforwardness and is told, "We were dead the moment the first army got here, Breeze. We're just good at stalling." I love that line. We jump to Ham telling Ellen that Vin killed nearly 300 men during an attack in 10 minutes.
Damn.
Wow. Spook says that she is loony, as Ellen wonders what happened and where she went, as no one has seen her since. Ellen says he loves her. Ham worries he might not be able. Ham worries
And that's all, folks.
That's not all, folks. Ham worries she might not be stable, but Ellen defends her. He says she's special and that she doesn't have brain damage from Straff's attack. Spooks. There is an S wherever. Spook comments how Kelsier would have fixed this, and they talk about how even the great Lord Kelsier was human and fallible. Ellen says they can't worry about the past and should focus on the Koloss. Spook throws a coin to him, one of the Koloss wooden ones, and wonders why they need to be paid now, since the Lord Ruler never did so. Ellen says they are changing and the crew needs to stay strong. He leaves and Orsier appears, telling him he knows where Vin is. We jump with... You want me to stop there?
No.
Actually,
Okay.
sure. I was just going to say, good on you for not having to include every little detail, but I really liked how Ellen puts it when he's like, they're changing, or maybe we never understood them in the first place. I thought that was cool because he actually has made attempts to try to understand their society.
Mm-hmm. And even Sazed in previous chapters, nobody's really tried to interview a Koloss
Yeah.
or study them. Ellen finds her in Finn's old bolt hole in Cannon's lair. She fiddles with her old earring and contemplates her bloody ledger compared to Cannon's. She talks about her mother and baby sister and what happened the day she got it. Ellen tries to put a positive spin on the events, but ends up sounding like Kelsier. He asks her what he can do to help her, and she says to let her go to Terrace. Finn asks if he would come, but Ellen says he needs to stay and help Luthadel citizens. Orsier appears to bring them out, Ellen helps Vin stand, and then she gives him the ET beat, saying she got it from Zane and regurgitated it. Ellen gives it back, saying his price makes it useless to him. She then gives it to Orsier, who hides it in his shoulder.
You mean Tensoon?
Yes.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
Sneaky snake. What about
No, sneaky pup.
So I was thinking how different it is. You know, we're returning to Cayman's lair, right? That's kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so different now. You know, it's like I can just picture it being dusty and filled with cobwebs, and like Ellen's coming in to save Vin, just like Kelsier did. But it's just so different.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and Ellen doesn't know what it is at first. He's just like, oh, this is just a shop that, like...
When he finds Vin's little corner, he's like, oh, this is a lookout spot. This was a thieving crew's lair. Which I'm guessing meaning somebody cleaned up the pile of dead bodies that was there from
I
the
was just
incident.
going to comment on that, because you
They
guys are,
were-
like...
So, where the dead bodies were was underground, in the underground bolt hole. Where Vin is actually in the actual shop itself, above ground.
Yeah, but you'd think
So-
you'd still be able to smell the,
Wasn't Vin's bolt hole directly connected to the underground lair, though? No,
I don't
guess
remember,
it's just,
honestly. But
it's
either
not
way,
that
like,
important.
you'd think, I mean, especially with the shop having been abandoned, that you'd still be able to smell the...
I kind of like the
Yeah.
idea of visually you see Ellen stepping down the same little path that Kelsier did, seeing like bloodstains and maybe like a few skeletons, and then crawling over to the little crawl space and just sitting next to Vin in her little
It's
bolt hole.
yeah. It's also been
Over a
About
year.
a year.
It's been two and a half years, I think,
2.5.
since Cayman's crew was killed, because it's been a year and a half since the fall of the final empire.
And there was a
And-
good time
And
jump.
it was close to the beginning of Vin's training when Cayman's lair was struck.
I would say round it to probably 2
So-
year.
I think it's been
'Cause-
over. I would say it's been over 2 years, but
Because they also, those events happened after Vin's training arc that we never saw. And that's what,
Montage.
so I would give us 2 years just to keep it safe.
Okay, so it's probably not smelly anymore, but still, there'd be...
I do also have a note that it is possible Vin's sister is a younger sister, or maybe even a twin. We do not know. Because Kay has a fan theory that she is going to be asking Brendan.
I will ask at some point in time if I ever get a chance.
I'm dying to know what that is because I forgot.
It's that is Vin's sister her younger sister, or is it her twin sister? Because Vin's father didn't ever know that the mom was pregnant. Didn't know that Vin's mom was pregnant. So, like, until after she had already had the kids. After she, like, so, like, the timing of that doesn't really make sense to me.
Yeah, it seems crazy that she would have gotten away with having 2 daughters.
Yeah.
Not to mention Reen.
Well, Reen's
Yeah.
the half brother.
Right, well, and that was going to be my point, because it could also be a half-sister.
But we know it's her full sister.
Do we?
Yes.
Okay.
How do we know
I would
that?
probably just a wob.
She never says half sister. She
We-
calls
well,
No, but-
we
her
can.
half brother.
Only like the one time, and then she always refers to it. Even when she fights Zane, she's like, my brother Reed was just like you.
We
But
can get
Kay-
back to this in
In the
the
spoiler,
spoiler
section.
section.
Kay, when you word it, I would start off by saying, since Vin's father did not know, is it likely that Vin's sister is a twin and that they were birthed at the same time? Because you want it to be the twin. That's what you wanted, right?
I think it would. I personally think it would make more sense with the
Sometimes
way
I
that
You
the
got-
timeline is supposed to work.
sometimes I feel like if you ask a wob and it's just spicy enough and in just the right amount of like vagueness, Brandon right on that day might just be like, you know what? Yeah, that's exactly what happened. You nailed it.
That's what I'm saying. You got to tell him this whole story. You got to give him your reasoning for why you think it's a twin. Then he can either give you yes. Because if he just says
Yeah, yeah.
younger sister, then if
Yeah, yeah,
but if you
that's-
give the story, you might get something more.
That's what I would do. Is that I would like go through like my reasoning for why I think that it's.
We'll do a whole special episode on that one word Brandon
If I
that comes out.
if I ever get to ask that question.
You better tell us immediately.
Alright.
You better get up to the stage, ask the question, get the answer, turn around, and immediately get on Discord. Besides the thousands of people, we should be the first to know. But we're getting a little bit off track, aren't we? Anything else for 44? Other than the nostalgia of going back to places from book one.
I did have one question. I'm sorry, but because sorry to keep us from moving on, but it was just like, so Vin's whole thing about feeling guilty because she's worse than Cayman, like, is there any validity to that? Because obviously he was a horrible, horrible person, but she did kill a lot of people.
I think he definitely killed more people than Cayman ever did. Because Cayman was like a mob boss, meaning he killed people who got in his way or let him down. I'm guessing that doesn't, because once you start doing it, a lot of people, step up to the plate and do what he wants. And he only has to make an example of it every year or so.
Cayman killed people who put some amount of trust into him first, and then he would betray them behind their back. Versus Van, who doesn't do that. She did kill a lot of people, but it's not like she had that initial trust with them first,
Yeah,
which I think is
she was being heavily manipulated by Zane.
yes.
He basically made her believe that they were the ones who sent the assassins. So it's not like she just killed to kill.
Mm-hmm.
But when you hear it stacked like
Cayman's definitely a worse person.
it makes you question it, I don't think Vin was justifying what she did, but also it wasn't like totally her fault because, like I said, she was being manipulated so hard.
45?
45 is me. I know what I have memorized. I know what is now repeated by the other world bringers. It's the epigraph. So in this chapter, Tindwell and Sazed are working furiously to find the secrets of the prophecy. There are many famous historical names, such as Rabzin and Enamenezer, that the rubbing they originally found at the conventicle of Saren has now linked to the Hero of Ages, because they were all these famous figures with their own individual prophecies and stories surrounding them that they didn't know were all referring to the same tale of the person going to the well. So it's kind of this cool moment showing how previous prophecies can have new relevant information when you make connections about them.
Funny that.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, kind of like these book series, right?
Uh-huh.
And there's a cool quote, "What if the past dreams are worth being remembered?" Excuse me. So Tindwell and Sazed discuss the value of remembering old religions. Sazed believes it's worth believing in old dreams because they give people strength as a promise that something greater is watching out for them. They give people hope. Tindwell still seems to discount the existence of the deepness, saying it's most likely a recurring plague, and sees the value of studying how past tragedies were dealt with practically. Sazed kind of agrees to disagree on this. And they're kind of like about to get lunch or whatever when they notice a rip in one of their pages, and they start noticing that, like, oh, there's another rip in this one that's just like it. Oh, it's actually exactly like it. And they find that this has happened multiple times on multiple documents. And being ferrochemists, they have the memory of exactly what has been removed from their documentation. And it says, Elendi must not reach the Well of Ascension, for he must not be allowed to take the power for himself. But before we're given any time to really think of what that might mean, Vin shows up. And one of the funniest things I can picture is just like Sazed and Turnbull completely bulked up on their pewter heads. And then Vin's just like, whoa. What did I do? So Vin is basically there to ask about, well, she's seeking counsel with Sazed, and she's asking what she should do about Ellen, because she's very conflicted.
I would also like to say that that's very much this just occurred to me. It's the opposite of like what happened at the beginning of the book when Tyndall walks into Vin's room unannounced, and Vin is like up on her bed with her daggers out ready to fight. It's like it's the same thing, but it's reversed this time.
Oh, that's so good. So it's funny because something similar happens in this chapter where Vin kind of like glances timidly at Tyndall, and she's like, all right, I'll let you guys have your alone time, even though secretly we know she's like listening in. And then later, after Vin leaves, guess who shows up? Alan, our boy. And he's there basically to ask Sazed for the same thing, and instead of, he just dismisses Tyndall.
He just says, "You're excused." Get out,
woman. Beat it.
So good.
So our boy's all grown up.
And I love that she's kind of like starting to get pissed off about it too. She's like, yeah, I might have trained him a little too well. He just kind of treats me like garbage now.
She's just upset that she can't push him around anymore.
Yeah.
I just can't get over. He walks in. Hello, Sazed. Tyndall, you're excused.
And she's like, well.
Huh?
And then he's like, I figured you were eavesdropping anyways. It's fine.
Later on when he calls her back in. Yeah.
So Sazed gives Ellen the advice that sometimes love is like a lock and a key. At first they seem like opposites until you realize one is useless without the other. Seems like he's also kind of pep-talking himself regarding Tyndall. And Ellen leaves, but as he's leaving, Sazed realizes that after all, he might think Vin really is the hero of ages, and that if there's any chance of that, he doesn't want Vin or Ellen to be inside the city when it falls. So he begins furiously writing some letters. And that's it.
Yeah, that's about right.
Short chapter.
It was. I kind of like these little Sazed chapters.
Yeah. And it's just so funny because both Vin and Ellen are like, I don't understand, Sazed. The other one is we're so different. And Sazed is like,
and
y'all literally just walked in here at the same time, one right after the other, asking me the exact same thing about the other one.
You gotta wonder if they passed each other in the hallway. Hi, Vin. Hey, Ellen.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Like, they were literally that close together.
And they're both just like, ugh. She doesn't get me at all.
I love when Vin's like, what is love? And in my mouth, like, baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me.
You know that, but you don't know Seinfeld.
Nope. Sorry. I know old songs. I don't know really, 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 really old shows.
Seinfeld isn't even as old as that.
It's old, but it's legacy. Like, there's a legacy there, you know?
It's legendary.
Yes, I've also seen that show.
I would say that's the wrong show.
Yeah, everyone's
Yeah,
seen
I've
that
seen that
show.
one.
I
We
would
are
hope.
planning a How I Met Your Mother rewatch
Watched that this
podcast.
past year.
As soon as
And how
the
it
Big
ties
Bang
into
Theory
this.
watch.
Yeah, as soon as we're done
As
with
soon
all
as-
of the Cosmere.
Oh my gosh.
Ellen comes to Sazed asking about the bro code. I love the line of how no teenage girl is stable. That made me laugh.
It's true.
Have you met Spook?
Spook
yes.
is a teenage
That's
boy.
perfect timing for somebody to join the call.
Have you met Dragon?
Wow. Hello.
Must have missed the
Welcome
awkward
back,
moment.
Dragon.
All I heard was, "This is the perfect timing for someone to join the call."
Uh-huh.
I mean, yeah.
We're
So why
just
is it
wrapping
such
up.
good timing.
Swiggity had just gone, have you met Spook? And then you popped on.
I even did like a little
Hey.
hand motion. It was like,
Uh-huh.
wow.
Doink. You just summoned me from thin air.
Perfectly timed. We're
Well,
just finishing up
glad I
chapter
could accommodate.
45, spoiler-free notes.
Excellent.
My other notes included I wanted to compare how they used Quan's message to like the Rosetta Stone, how they were able to basically compare the two different references by the same word that they just never had the connection for. It's a Quanian stone. Rosetta Stone? Quana Stone? Quana Stone.
Yeah, that was super cool. And it was the same thing of having like the gender neutral
Quantum
terms
papers.
too, right?
And how he can actually is it, and it can apply to both male, female, non-binary, and etc.
Which is just further leading to this idea that Vin might really be the hero of ages.
Dun, dun, dun. And then my other one is literally just the joke again of how Vin stepped into a room with Sazed and Tindwyl swole as heck.
Somebody has to draw that. I'll be right back.
Swiggity.
That would actually be I think that would be a really cool sketch. Like, two Terracemen, like, beefed up like crazy, and Vin just like little old Vin like stepping in like halfway through a window, like, "Hey, what's up?"
With like,
It's like 4 panels of it's a single page comic book with 4 panels. You get Vin stepping in, Vin looks up, just super buff, Tindwyl and Sazed, and then just Vin with like the most wide-eyed expression.
But see, if you do that, you have to do the mirror of it, which was from the beginning of the series, where Tindwyl walks into Vin's room, and with her daggers out, ready to fight, and Tindwyl's just like, okay.
This girl is in need of work. Anything else for 45? Okay, let's move on to 46 then.
Okay, we can do that. The two are not the same. Guess not.
Nope.
Breeze thinks about how he's a full-blooded nobleman and nobody else, even anyone in the crew, really knew that, but that upbringing gave him a good sense for intrigue. He sees it in the letter he got, the guards at the door, and the fact that there's no food or drink, and a few other things that he points out along the way as he's going to this meeting that has been organized by Sazed. As soon as he comes in, he tells these things to Sazed, and then Clubs walks in immediately behind and confirms it by saying, "Lose the guards." And then Sazed obediently goes and sends the guards away.
Mm-hmm.
Ham and Dox show up, and they begin to bicker. Breeze uses his allomancy to kind of keep the meeting from breaking down, which doesn't entirely work, but it kind of does, and he brings it back around a little bit. They discuss the armies a little bit and sort of decide that they're all going to die in defense of the city, and they talk about why they did it if it's all going to end that way, and Sazed explains how it was a beginning after 1,000 years of stagnancy. Ham eventually asks Breeze for a little confidence because it's getting pretty grim. And, of course, Breeze obliges him and gives a little of the same to everybody in the room. Eventually, they decide that for this whole thing to have had any value, they have to get the word out, and they need to send some people away. And they all know immediately that obviously they're talking about Vin and Ellen because they're the only two people who haven't been invited to the little party they're having. They also discuss the idea of sending Tindwyl because she has important information for the Keepers. And Breeze thinks about how he should talk them into letting Orianne go with them as well. But that's basically the end of the meeting, and Breeze is kind of just thinking about how he's going to deliver this news. We move.
I
Go
love.
ahead.
Sorry, I love how everybody kind of has like a loved one they want to get out of the city. We have Hammond, who's already gotten his family out, and then
Right.
we've got pretty much everybody's like, I nominate one person to be safe,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which technically puts Ellen under Dockson's nomination, but I'll allow it.
No. I would argue that it does not, in fact, do that because it is Sazed who nominates both Vin and Ellen. But
And Tindwyl.
and Tindwyl.
Oh
Yeah.
shoot, I forgot about Tindwyl. So
Yeah, he does.
Breeze nominates Orianne. Clubs.
Clubs.
I guess that
Spook.
puts Clubs.
Clubs dominates
No,
Spook.
Clubs nominates. Well, actually, technically,
Clubs did Spook.
again, technically, who nominates who? The only person that actually nominates initially, all of them, is Sazed, because he's like,
Right.
oh, Vin and Ellen, and we could send along. It's like, oh, like who else could we send? And then he's like, well, we're gonna send Spook because they should have a good lookout, and basically send the youngest of the group, and also I'll send Tindwyl with them. So he honestly nominates four of them,
Everybody.
and then Breeze is like,
Yeah.
no, I'm gonna kick all Orianne out with them too.
Right.
Right. So, yes, it's almost like there's enough like numbers correlation wise, but
They just happen
really.
to line up with people, with like their relationships a little bit.
Yes,
Yeah.
it does. Interestingly, but yeah.
Yeah, as it so happens. Anyway, then the chapter moves to Vin's POV, who is walking through Kredik Shaw, listening to the thumping from the mist creature and the well. She walks through, eventually coming across the room where they have the little hut built inside of it, and she has these memories back of when she was there last time fighting the Inquisitor, and how Kelsier had affected her and her thinking, and what she wants to do, and what she's looking for, and what she's trying to figure out inside herself, and all of these things. And she's trying to decide what to do and who to be with, and eventually she kind of just leaves, and that's about it. It's not a very interesting POV other than to show that she's still confused and not sure what to do, and she's looking in every place she can think of to try and find answers. Then we get a little blip of Zane waking up when he hears a signal that he has set up for when there's assassins or people basically just encroaching on his area. He kills off all the assassins really quickly, just with a quick little burst of coins, like, get away! He grabs some medals and some coins, pays the guy who sounded the alarm, and then he goes to confront his father. Straff tries to buy Zane off, but Zane's just like, nah, you can have the city. I'm leaving. He's like, but the Mistborn. He's like, oh, no, I'm taking her with me. The city's yours. Just don't do anything until the Koloss have leveled the place, And then he just, wanders off. He collects some valuables from outside of the camp, some medals, some atium, little money, whatever. And that's when we find out about the spike that's embedded in his chest and it's like under his skin in front and just poking out of his back between his shoulders. And how that's always been there. And that's the real reason that he never wears a cloak. And then the chapter ends.
Mist Cloak specifically.
Yes.
No, he says he's never liked wearing cloaks because it bothers the spike in his body, but the mist cloak is too precious of a gift from his father for him to soul.
That is correct.
That's why he says he doesn't wear the mist cloak.
Yeah.
He doesn't like cloaks in general because it bothers the spike in his protruding from the back from his back.
Yeah.
But mist cloak
as that
specifically,
extra
mist
level
cloak
of
specifically
sacredness.
shows you his connection and his almost incongruent adoration for his father.
Yeah. I love his line how no man should kill his father. Yeah, if they're fantasy Hitler, you should.
Fantasy Hitler.
Hashtag stab Strove.
Wow.
Hashtag
Yeah.
strap. Gosh.
It's our ongoing thing.
Reader came up with
Kind
it.
of
We
like
don't like 'em.
headcanon.
So we did get straight confirmation that Breeze is a full noble. We were a bit confused by that. So I guess he just lies to Ariane and says he's...
He
even
lies
though
to
he's
everyone.
meeting
No
with-
one knows that he's full noble.
Right,
yeah,
yeah,
but he
not even
lies to
people in the crew.
Ariane, whose father... Well, the crew didn't know. I thought he said.
No, nobody.
Nope.
He says
No.
nobody, not even the
Nobody
crew.
knows.
Nobody knows. Okay.
knows.
It's 'cause
That's
he's
He
his
lies to
ashamed.
Ariane, whose father hates God. That seems like a suicidal notion.
I mean, I'm
That
just
is funny.
thinking about it a little bit. I mean, this is my like reasoning through it, not necessarily anything that's canon. But if I were trying to dissuade a young noblewoman from showing interest in me, I would tell her, "Oh yeah, I'm part Ska. You don't want anything to do with me." Right? Like that's a logical tactic in my brain. Now, I don't know if that's his reasoning, but
Well,
it makes sense.
here's
to
a
me.
reason number 2 to add to that. He has literally built his entire credibility as a leader of several
Ska
other of the Ska Rebellion, of entire groups of Ska soothers. Like literally, his entire credibility relies on the fact that he is half Ska. And so if he suddenly is like, "Nah, man, I'm a noble. I just been playing a joke on y'all," he'd probably get stabbed by someone.
I mean,
Well, I would think he would lie, and then people would just think it's a lie. Well, he would tell the truth, and people would think that's the lie.
now we're getting into some straight Pirates of the Caribbean stuff right here.
I say no lies.
I demand parlay.
Well, he wouldn't
I
have told
demand
us that
parsley.
if he was telling the truth.
I do that quite a lot. You people are always surprised. I loved how Breeze kind of broke his rule about never being noticed with his soothing to like shut everybody up.
He's like, yes, I know, I'm soothing you. Obviously.
It's one tactic that is just like, if you want people to know to like pay attention to you, just kind of shove it in their face.
I just
Yeah.
realized in this
It is fun,
chapter how many Breeze point of views we're getting in this book.
It's been quite a bit.
It is a lot.
A lot more than the first one, that's for sure.
Which
Ever
was
get a Breeze
none.
POV?
Exactly.
No.
So
Exactly.
is he like a main character in this book?
No, he's
He was
still
a main character in
minor.
the last book.
No, he's still a minor character, but he is becoming more of a main character.
He was a main character in my eyes.
He
I mean,
definitely
again, it's
won
like,
the Oscar for best support character.
yeah, I was gonna say
I'll
not
give him that.
Yeah.
main, but we all know Sanderson likes doing POVs from various people to give us more context, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we have Draft POV, we have Zane POV, right? So it's like,
And this is why in the Final Empire, when Breeze showed up to the meeting, we were all like, yay, it's Breeze. But, you know, people reading the Final Empire for the first time was like, that guy was kind of a dick.
Yeah.
right. It is because again, like getting an insight into someone's head and seeing people be like, he's not that bad of a guy.
But we have seen the inside of Strath, and we do think he is that kind of a person. In which I am surprised that Strath was willing to run away. Everybody seemed to be giving him a lot more credit.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yet he was going full coward.
I've always thought Straff was like just this bumbling idiot that everyone gives too much credit. Like I've always thought that. Which makes it so much better. Well, we'll see what happens to him.
Oh, yes.
We'll get there. We'll see.
Hashtag stab Strath. Hashtag stab Strath. Hashtag. Try saying
Well,
it five
Zane
times. You
didn't
can't.
do it, so we'll see who does. Anyway,
Yes.
anything else on 46? Or I should say, if anyone does.
No, 47 is all yours,
Thank-
Dragon.
All right.
The final.
So back into Vin. our girl who is confused as all get out, as any 18-year-old teenage girl who has superpowers and is has weird things thumping around in her head and also has complex love lives. So you know I'd figure at that point anyone would be confused, but I love just like the little bits that's just like seeing Orsur just like being like just like coming up, and it's just like taking a look at like how their relationship has advanced. He just like comes up and she's like, man, like what should I do? And he's like it's like this is the end. It's like the end of what? And he's like, I don't know. And
Ursula's basically
he's like, just make the decision. Like, what do you want? Like, just make the decision. But he's like offering up like advice now, where at the very beginning he wasn't. So I thought that was just like a fun bit.
He's like,
but that's
if you
partially
choose not
because
to
he is
decide,
not.
you still have made a choice.
Yeah.
Right. And then Zane shows up because that's where we know where he's going. And he's like, "Come with me." He's like, okay. But then we see kind of the crucial moment is it's like one of those things like people make decisions and then it's like you start going for the decision and you're like, oh man, that's too late. But she realizes like as she's leaving that she's like, no, I'm making the wrong decision. Like leaving, going with Zane, I don't have to kill people anymore. Which is one of her rationalizations is I don't have to kill people anymore. I'm conflicted. I don't want to kill people. Zane kind of made me go kill a bunch of people. So I'm going to go with him because he made me kill people. So I shouldn't have to kill people when I go with him, even though he made me kill people. Logic here. But she decides to go with him and she's like, nah, actually, there's a guy that trusts me and it doesn't matter. She's like, I just like, it's nothing against you. And then you just, again, it's like this insanity of Zane. He's just like, oh yeah, come with me. Oh yeah, come with me.
It's not you, it's me.
It's not you,
but
it's
you're
me.
also
and,
crazy.
And he's like, nah, I'm gonna stab you. It's just like again, it's like the example of like the aspects of his insanity. Like people when they get dumped, right? People will yell, they'll scream, but like not a lot of people like this. As soon as they get dumped, do they just like go to stabbing?
It seems like a bit of a leap, right?
Right. And it just like feels very sudden, right? Because especially to like from Vin's POV, she's like, oh, I'm gonna let you go. And she's just like, I'm gonna turn around because she thinks she's safe with Zane, and it's just like that. That he just snaps, and they start, and then they start the fight. And you get
about it, we've been focused on how Vin is thinking and how Zane has been. We haven't really talked about how Zane is getting affected by Vin.
Right. Zane is right.
Sorry.
Leaving his brother, like leaving his dad and stuff. Sorry, I'll let you, since you started it, please continue.
He had just gotten almost killed. He had just been tried to kill. He just abandoned him, who he says he loves, and he revered a gift from him. He's trying to get this girl who is the only one that God has not said to kill, and he spent all this time working for it. He's killed how many people to get this, and she says no? After all this time, he still picks the brother who doesn't have powers when he can't connect with her on a magical level.
Right.
And now he can't come back home because he told his dad he was leaving.
He was leaving
with her.
Well, and also again, like the respect that Zane has internally for Straff as his father, treasuring the ATM he was given, right? He has a giant flipping bag of ATM. That's, I think, something we forgot to mention. Giant flipping bag of ATM because he treasures the ATM.
But
right, and he has no need to use it.
Can I just say, like, this is such an important part of this book. Okay, people will sell you, I hate the Zane subplot. It doesn't make sense. I don't like seeing Vin conflicted. Sure, I get that, but this book is about like needing versus not needing love And it's about how like love is so critical to our existence, but at the same time, relying on that for your own personal happiness and making that your identity is toxic. And Zane embodies this ideal when he says, "You were supposed to save me, Vin." Like, that's wrong. You need to save yourself and you need to work on yourself, and someone will love that improved version of you. You're not supposed to go after somebody who fixes your life and makes everything better for you. And this is like emblematic of Vin and Ellen's relationship, where they think they're supposed to save each other when it's not like that. They love each other for who they are.
Hmm.
Well, each of them thinks they have to change themselves for the other person, and Zane thinks he will change because Vin will change him.
Yeah.
So it's like in an essence, it's like he expects like something outward to change him, like external forces, and Vin and Ellen they don't expect the other to change for them, and they don't expect the other to change them. They just they think that they need to change themselves for the other person, when in reality it's accept yourself for who you are and trust someone that if they say that they love you, it's because they love you as who you are.
Yeah.
And not some made-up image of yourself, right?
A lot of YA books fall into the love triangle subplot, especially in the sequels. But I feel if you actually look back and look at Zane, Vin, and Ellen, it doesn't really match the love triangle. Ellen loves Vin wholeheartedly. Zane has some kind of toxic desire to have Vin
Infatuation.
with him, some infatuation to have Vin help him. He
Right.
doesn't necessarily love Vin, he loves what she can do for him. Vin loves Ellen. This whole conflict within her, this entire book has not been about love, it's been about who she is.
Where does she feel
The
like
reason
she
she doesn't
belongs?
Yes, the reason she doesn't want to be with Ellen is because she doesn't think he deserves her, and that he deserves somebody better. She needs a girl who will look beautiful on his arm, who will wear a dress, who will go to a ball, who can act noble. She feels conflicted with that because I'm also a Mistborn. These are what a Mistborn does. This guy, who is the only other Mistborn I've met that's actually not tried to outright kill me initially, is offering to teach me. We've been sparring, we've got a repertoire, but he is bad. He's a horrible person. He's the worst parts of Kelsier in a sense. It was never a love story. It was never a love triangle.
No.
I think it's very interesting and different take because everyone expects this as like, oh, it's a terrible love triangle. They shouldn't have love triangled. So I think that I like that that's a very different take and a very different perspective because you're right. It's about Vin and Ellen figuring out and coming into their own and trying to get more comfortable in their own skin and confident in their own decisions. And there's an aspect that if you don't feel like you belong, you're gonna go try to find something where you feel like you belong.
I like what you said about like being confident in your decisions, because I feel like another theme of this book is like how prophecy is prophecy, and like the way Vin kind of views her love life right now is like, which man am I meant to be with? But in this chapter, I feel like she finally, like, kind of as Rossur is even saying, like, she decides. You have to decide. Like, you get to. And like they're searching for this prophecy to save them, but they could just save themselves, I guess.
Like even in John's chapter. Even in John's chapter when they go to Sazed, though, and Vin makes the comment, "What is love?" And he's like, "Well, how do you feel about Ellen? I love him, but all these things." And then she's like, "But there's another man." And Sazed's like, "Ah." And then the things she talks about with Zane have nothing to do with love. It's only, he's another Mistborn. He has the same powers as me. He understands the toolage of it. She doesn't have a love for Zane. And I don't think Zane has actual love for her. It was never a love story.
They're two locks.
In that regard.
They're not a lock and a key.
Yeah.
Which we will find out more about in next chapter.
Right.
But Dragon, you can continue with your thing.
Yeah, no
I just
worries.
wanna-
No, I love that. I love that's a very different take than I think a lot of people do, and I think that's awesome. And because I don't know, I've never been particularly bothered by them. Like, yeah, it's there, but you're right, it's never felt super like love focused. So I love that call out. Thank you, reader. With that said, we have another betrayal.
The
And
gas.
soon come to me. I am your father. Oh wait, sorry, wrong one. Yeah. Right? So Tensoon, we find out it's not Ursur, it's Tensoon, ever since the dog body. So, you know,
We're back in
anyone
chapter
that's
4.
here that may have caught any of our slip-ups, if they weren't properly edited.
No, we've been pretty good about it.
We have been pretty good. At the very, very, very beginning, we accidentally called Ursur Tensoon. So for those for those that since that got edited out, now if you ever start making this mistake, you will understand. You now understand why someone might make that mistake if you've been talking to them and someone said Tensoon, you go, "Who's that?" This is why, because Ursur has been the whole time the wrong Kandra. So
I just wanted to quickly bring up, we have seen Tensoon before in the Final Empire when Ellen goes to meet his father, I believe the first time. They do name drop Tensoon the Kandra.
he does. It's true.
Right. Correct.
So,
But at that point, you don't even know what a Kandra is.
It's such subtle foreshadowing that it's basically impossible to have seen this coming.
Yeah, exactly.
but we have been paying attention to the slight differences, right? Because obviously we know the exact the exact time when Ursur gets taken over by Tensoon. So, I guess to sum it up, we've basically noticed that his attitude shifts immediately. Like, he goes from basically only saying, "Oh, I'll do that if you order me to kind of starting to help out Vin a little bit. And we also noticed that he didn't really remember what it was like to work under Kelsier when Vin was like, "Oh, you remember Kelsier? He was different than most contract owners, right?"
He was like,
yeah, sure.
yeah.
Yep.
What did Kelsier tell you to preach? Just stuff,
General
preachy things,
riot things.
Yeah.
That's right.
So as you think back through and analyze every interaction and every little snippet that we've alluded at, while not spoiling it for people that have yet to read it, more than once. Yeah, you can now. Hopefully, you're now going back and analyzing every moment of every interaction ever since Tensoon, pretending to be Ursur, took over as the dog body. So.
And this is
sorry.
a fun thing that audiobook listeners, if you listen to it on audiobook, you can hear that Michael Kramer does a different voice for the dog, which you think when you're originally listening to it, you're kind of thinking, oh, it's just because he's a dog now. That's why his voice sounds different.
Which,
But
it makes
in
sense that
reality-
he changes voices when they have different bodies. But it's another piece, another clue to it.
I've always loved how every time they talked about Zane or Seer, Tensoon was always like, "We don't trust him. You can't." He always growls whenever Zane shows up. I wouldn't say go back and reread everything right now, but reread when you finish. It's a lot of fun.
It is true. There's a lot there to pick up on. So hopefully a couple of you had a lot of oh my gosh moments when you read that. Just like Vin did. But interestingly enough, I want to point this out. Vin, her first reaction is, "How dumb am I?" Which I think is it's like a laughing moment, but at the same time, she is still this super self-deprecating. She's like, "Oh my gosh, that was so obvious." It's like, no, it wasn't, dear. It was not obvious to anyone. That's why he did it, because it was so ingenious. And she's like, "Oh, I should have seen that. How did I not suspect him?" And it's like,
You weren't supposed to.
You weren't supposed
Nope.
to, and no one did. Literally, no one did. It was like the smartest move for him to have ever made. It's because no one's
And
going
if you
to
think
take
back-
that look into Sensoon.
And if you think back to when Zane said, Damu is your spy, that came right after Vin basically found Damu sneaking out. So Zane was told by Tensoon, Damu is the most likely choice to be the spy. And
Right,
he
and if-
basically went out and lied to her.
And if you look at it, right, that's probably, I would say, is the biggest clue that Orsuer, right, Tensoon was the spy, because literally she never told anyone. That was like a big thing for her. She literally never told anyone besides Tensoon.
Yeah.
And
But
so
you
if
would
anyone
also think
picked up on
that
that,
the spy would be known by the enemy side.
right?
Yeah.
So,
But can we get to the good part?
which good part? You mean the good part where they then start fighting and he throws her against the wall using Duralumin, or the good part where Vin ends up controlling Tensoon because Tensoon says she knows our secret, and so she takes over his body using allomancy and literally has two minds in two places at once and can see from both bodies and eyes? Or are you talking about the part where then she then uses the power of the power of Atium and reacts to his reaction and then kills him?
The part after that when he's lying
There's
in
a
a
lot of
pool of
parts.
blood.
Oh yeah, that one. Okay. I stopped there just because I feel like I dropped a lot of bombs, real fast. But
That was quite a lot. They were all pretty good.
That's the most efficient way.
there's true. There's a lot of good stuff in this chapter, and that's why I want to take this chapter, because it's just like there's so much. I do want to pause a moment on the whole ATM thing, because I feel like I see not a lot. There's a select number of people that are very vocal about, well, ATM got broken and it just shows that it's just a mind reading thing. Like, Brandon Sanderson forgot how ATM works for one scene because it's really convenient. And since I'm ADHD, I can beat ATM. Okay, so let me explain how this works for the people that are on this track of mindset. First time readers, maybe you have some thoughts on this, but for people that are re-listening to it, you're wrong. It didn't break because it's just a mind reading thing. How ATM works is it watches someone, and how you get a second ATM shadow, right, is when you're burning ATM, because your mind knows what they're going to do, and so you change what you're going to do. That's why you have more than one shadow. That's like the whole thing about having multiple shadows. So if she finds out what she is going to do, and she knows what he's going to do in reaction to her, and she's able to change it fast enough, she can split her shadows. And that's how it works, is because that's what it's based off of. It's not mind reading. It's not because she, the whole, people get so caught up on I made my mind blank. It's not making her mind, the whole making her mind blank was just when you're in a fighting mode, someone goes to stab you, just stop it. But she's then focused. What she's doing is she's trying to judge what he is going to do, so she can change her own action. Right? That's the whole ATM Infinite Shadows. But all she has to do is just do it once.
Yep.
To split her shadow into two, because even two is more than what he could have done. He became overconfident. Was just what's this? I'm just going to catch him. What he should have done if he wanted to beat her was, there's two shadows.
Step back.
Let me step out of the way of both swings, and then stab her. But it's the only reason it worked is also because of his overconfidence.
Mm-hmm. I almost can see it where he's you can see Vin in slow-mo, and then suddenly two shadows form out of her, and he goes to block one, and it just sails straight through, and then the second one stabs him in the side.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Anyway, any questions on how it works and the fact that ATM didn't break in this scene?
They did spend... there was multiple references to how Vin relies on her instincts more than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically what this is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She relies on her instincts, and which ends up letting her A, react, and then B, watch him react to her.
And
so
we did see
do that.
And we did see a lot in the Final Empire how a power can be a crux. And also vice versa.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, I just really wanted to spend a minute calling that out, because it makes sense if you track every piece of the word and you don't let yourself get caught up on any one piece. Anyway.
I like this
And-
better than her pulling on the mists again. Like that's
Right,
what
she
she planned
tries.
to do, and I think that would have been
Mhm.
a total cop out if it just happened to work again.
Right.
Yeah.
And Brandon has even said, whatever the pulling on the mist thing is, like, and he's like, it almost seems like a little bit of a Deus Ex Machina kind of situation in book 1. Is there's just like no foreshadowing, no nothing. It's just like mists. And then you see her try to do it again all through book 2, and it's just like, you're like, what the flip is this mists thing?
It's a thread to book to later parts.
Yeah,
And which
it's a
we'll be
thread to
seeing in
later
the future.
parts, but he just never since we've read book 1, like in the past of book 1, he never we still know nothing about it, really,
Yeah.
but there was no illusion even to it happening, and so
Yeah.
it's like, I'm glad there wasn't again this mystical mists saved the day kind of situation.
Yeah.
Because having that happen again to save her life, and it being around, honestly, Vin is as cunning as get out, and she just relies on like street smarts and just like the instinct of battle, and that's how she
Yeah.
won. So
Yeah.
Which I would like to say is that part of the reason is that the like mist, like there's no like allusion to it before. Sanderson has said that like he had included it at the end of the book, like as kind of like like I need to do something, but then forgot to like go back and add the foreshadowing to like lead up to it, because he had been planning. It's something that he had been planning for the later books, but then decided to put in book 1 at like the last minute, and then forgot to actually go back and put the foreshadowing in. So that's why he's like, I feel bad about that, because it is kind of like a Deus Ex Machina kind of thing in this book. But
I'm fine with the Deus Ex Machina. We figured out what the Lord Ruler's trick was. It was just a matter of the Alamancy to pull it out. I don't mind it.
Right.
I
I haven't
do-
generally minded it too much, but I understand like where he comes from when he says that, and I go, all right, I can get behind that. So, also one of the I guess let's finish out the chapter, and then I'll have a reanalysis. There's one piece that I want to go back to, but Zane's POV, burbling and gurgling as he dies. No, he says, you should, like, you were the one that was supposed to save me, right? Goes back to this mentality of, you had to save me. I am a victim. I am powerless. You had to save me. So there's that mentality. And then there's the piece where God says, of course, I wouldn't tell you to kill her. Emphasize. And the
He
funny
was
thing
never
is,
insane on the main
you
brain.
were never insane, Zane.
He was never insane in the main brain.
So then the question is, if God's telling you you're not insane, is God made up?
if the
Or
voice
is he
in your
actually
head-
God?
The voice in your head, yeah.
And at which point, right, if the voice in your head tells you he's not real, and you're not insane, then who are you actually listening to? And the question is, if he's not insane, is he really listening to God? Is he some sort of prophet? Or is he really just off his rocker, like Tensoon thinks? He's like, take his body.
Yeah.
No, he is nasty, creepy, weirdo dude. I ain't taking his bones.
I would rather not wear those bones.
So, anyway.
Is
And
that
then,
everything? Sorry.
she goes running off down the hall. I know where I need to go. That's kind of where it
Yeah.
ends. Any other thoughts on this?
Yeah,
Others
when did
have one more.
Tensoon get a third dog body? Did after the
third.
first one break?
No.
After the first one
Yes.
break, did he got this new one? Did he also get me a spare, just in
Uh-uh.
case?
No. He kept the bones from
kept
the
the first one.
previous body. From
Yeah.
the first body.
So the first one only
Ah.
got punched, right? First one got punched in like the head, so the skull
Okay.
broke. The
So
second
he's
one
just
had
gonna
his
alter-
neck snap.
Yeah.
So,
So he's
you
just
take,
gonna swap
take
out
good
the
skull
bones.
from one, good neck from another. Maybe you had a femur break over here, and you just he's saying basically like, I can play Tetris, and we get a whole body. by the end.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
Anything else for 47?
One thing I want to bring back is I do find it interesting that Vin, like, she starts getting attacked, and she keeps being like, "Oh, I have to stay quiet," right? She keeps like, she initially starts off, "I have to stay quiet. If the guards come, he'll kill them. If Ellen comes," like, and she tries to like hold it until she snaps because she's like, "No, I haven't had to stay quiet," which I think is just supposed to like show you like the change, the progress that she made from book 1 to book 2. Like, look how she's changed. She has these old thoughts, and she goes to like overcoming them and going into these new thoughts. But it's like been so long since she's had to do it that she's like literally not even ever shown any signs of having had to cower. In actuality, in this book, she never really like cowers in fear. Except for like the one moment where she like touches the Mist Spirit and it like sends a crazy weird chill through her body.
Yeah.
So I don't know, it does seem a little incongruent that it's like that she would be sitting there and immediately is like hide. It's like it could just be like, hey, this old instincts, but it's like she hasn't done that in so long. It seems weird that it would like come back right then.
Well, this is something she's never fought before. This is her completely outmatched, completely at somebody else's mercy. So I do see her flashing back to Canon or other people when she wasn't able to fight back and she figured the best way for her to survive was this. And in my mind, I can see like every time she gets kicked, you get a flash of Canon or some other crew leader or Reen or whoever else. And then she remembers Ellen, Sazed, Kelsier, stuff that happened in this book, and then she gets up, sort of kind of like the Captain Marvel scene. In that way.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah.
That was my last piece, so.
Okay. Should we move on to 48? Nothing really big happens there. We could skip it if we... I'm joking. I'm very excited for this. Kay, you know how much I love him.
From the beginning of their relationship to now, we are gathered here today to celebrate the union of two wonderful characters.
Last time we had a funeral, this time we had a wedding. Hallelujah.
I should have worn my suit.
Didn't dress up for this one.
So,
It's just the way they wanted it. Covered in blood and in whatever they were wearing at night.
yep. So the chapter starts off with Alan in his room, and he's trying to write a letter to Jastes to try to get Jastes to leave the city, to take his Kolos away from the city. And then Vin comes in, and she's sobbing, and she's bloody. And Ellen is like, what the heck is going on? Like, and she's like, oh yeah, I killed your brother. And he's like,
I have a brother.
like, I have a brother? What?
He's dead.
And he's like, oh my god, like, you're bleeding, like, I don't know what to do. I'm gonna go get Sazed. And she's like, no, don't leave me. Please don't leave me. So he takes her and he's like, okay, then come with me because we need to go get Sazed because you're bleeding out on my floor right now.
And he
Yes,
bends
because
over,
his
picks her up
floor
in a
was the
big-
part he was concerned about.
No, he doesn't.
And he
pick her
sweeps
up
her off
this
her
I
feet
know, I
in
was
his big
joking.
muscly arms and carries
That's
her down
later.
the hallway.
That's later.
That's later. Shush.
That's
sorry.
later.
Oh.
There's got to be
No.
all this.
Come on. we're getting
Romance.
there.
How does he get her down? How does he get her? Does he like hobble with her?
Yeah, he hobbles with her.
Oh, he hobbles with her. Okay.
So
He holds her hand.
they walk to Sazed's quarters, and Sazed comes out, and he's like, first he makes a joke, and he's like, what would Kelsier think about seeing you with, like, their clothes destroyed? And again, and Vin doesn't react at all, but Ellen is like, this is not the time for jokes.
He wasn't there. Should have been there,
He
man.
wasn't.
Should have been there.
He should have been there. And so Sazed starts to Sazed calms Ellen down because Ellen is more worried than Vin is.
He's reverting.
And
I would too.
I mean, fair enough.
I mean, you see, the woman who you love is bleeding out on your floor,
Relax, I
like,
was
in
joking.
front of you. So,
Joking.
Ellen tries to leave, and Vin is like, "No, stay. Like, I need to tell you something." And she's like, "I realized something that, like, the important thing about what Kelsier had was that trust that he had in other people, and like you have that trust and stuff. Like you're better than Kelsier is because you're better at trusting people. So, and then she turns to Sazed and she's like, "Hey, Sazed, what's the fastest wedding ceremony that you know?"
Marking the first time in history a woman ever wanted it faster.
Speak for yourself, Mike.
Let's do this.
So Ellen nearly drops the cloak, his like cloth that he's like holding on to her in shock. 'Cause he's like, "What?"
What?
Excuse me.
Flaw.
So Sazed tells them about the wedding ceremony of the Larsta people, who only required a profession of love before a local priest. So Finn immediately turns to Ellen and is like, "I love you." And Ellen is like, "Are we really doing this right now?" And she's like, "Do you love me?" And he's like, "I mean, yeah."
Also bleeding
Of
on my
course.
carpet.
Yeah.
Also,
She's like-
I paid for this rug. Can you not stain it?
She's like, "It's just a little bit of blood. It's fine."
It's only a flesh wound.
And Sazed is also like, "Are you really sure you want to get married right now? Like, you don't seem like you're in the best mental state right now."
You're with high emotions or something.
Yeah,
It's just so good because she was like, "I'm not fancy enough for him" before, and now she's like,
and yeah, it's the "This isn't a decision to be made lightly under the influence of strong emotions." And she responds with, "The decision to get married shouldn't be made because of strong emotions."
Or flustered Sazed.
So, and Vin is essentially like, "I've been like thinking about this for months, and I finally made my decision, so I want to do this now. Like, we're gonna get married."
Yay.
Done. So they get married. So Vin and Ellen both say that they love each other, so they're now married.
They
love each
other.
Yes.
do.
Honestly,
So, and
we should have more weddings like that because I've listened to way too many bridezilla stuff. Just make it simple, man. I love you. I love you. We're done.
"I miss Zane."
I don't.
Shut up. Get back. He wasn't even invited.
Sazed does warn them that the Larsta did not have any form of divorce, so this love is for forever. This wedding is for forever.
Figure it out.
Oh,
Be married or die.
so and
Vin can accommodate the second.
Sazed tells them, like, "Do not forget the love oath you've made to each other this evening. It will give you much strength in the days to come." So, and during this, Sazed brings up the Well of Ascension and is essentially like, "Hey, Vin, the power there might be able to help the city. Like, releasing that power might be able to help the city because, like, the Lord Ruler made the Colossus with that power. So, like, maybe if you release the power, it'll undo whatever the Lord Ruler did, and the Colossus will be gone." Oh, so, and Vin, who's already been feeling like she needs to go to the Well of Ascension, agrees that they should go, and Ellen also agrees to go. So,
Yay.
Sazed says that he'll draw them a map that he was able to find in from his metal mines, and that Tyndwell and Spook should come with them. Tindwell to help with talking to the terrorist people, and Spook to help keep watch. So, and they agree that they're gonna head out the next day, after Vin has had a night to, recover a little bit.
Yeah.
I like this last. I really like the last paragraph. What back to Sazed is like. It's like what Sazed does, and it's just like with a sigh, he stoops down and gathered his medical items. Then he retreated to his rooms to fabricate the map he had promised to Vin and Ellen.
That lying, no good. Terrorism.
Tisk tisk.
But first, Ellen's bridal carries Vin away.
Yes. Now he
Now,
bends down, muscles rippling under his arms, sweeps her off her feet, and carries her off to go bleed on a bed somewhere.
Yep.
well, her wound is
Oh my.
is wrapped up now.
I mean, true, but like fresh stitches, man.
Ellen goes from knowing he has a brother to the fact that he's dead to getting married in like 5 minutes.
And he cared oh so much.
Right? Huh? I got a brother? Eh. Oh, well.
Yep.
I'm dead now.
Gotta
Good.
process that later.
Yep. I liked Vin's comment about Kelsier. Do we think that if Kelsier had survived and Ellen had met him and they had gotten to talk, would Kelsier have actually changed a bit? Or would... Because we did see that even just knowing that Vin liked Ellen was change Kelsier a tiny bit.
I think
Or
he
would-
would have. I think he would have because Kelsier was changing towards the end of Final Empire. He was.
Right.
So I think that. But it's hard to say because I also. Ellen wouldn't have been in the same position
He
that
wouldn't have
he's
been the
in
ruler.
now.
Right?
He wouldn't have been the ruler. Because Kelsier would have been the ruler.
Kelsier would definitely have been king.
He would have been this annoying noble that kept telling him to run his country.
Yeah, he'd be like, excuse me, can we have like? And Kelsier would probably just be like, yeah, shut up.
Oh, I don't know.
I'm not doing a ruling body of people that can vote me out.
Or would it be seen as Ellen was king, but he's a puppet king, where he's
No.
technically the one on the throne, but Kelsier's the one.
I doubt
Shots.
anyone would let anyone not let
If
Ellen would
Kelsier
not have been.
not be the king.
Kelsier had
But the
lived,
reason-
this guy wouldn't have rebelled in the first place. I feel like there's no way this would have
But
happened.
the only
Well, if Kelsier had lived, then the Lord Ruler would have had to die there, and this would be a whole different ballgame.
But the nobles would never have agreed to a Ska king. There would
So
have
Right.
been
they probably would have been
Civil
stabbed
War.
and slaughtered and killed
Exactly.
That's true.
Wait, who?
I think
There would
all
be
of
no
the
until they
nobles-
finally relented. So you'd have a heck of a lot less nobles.
That's true.
Mhm.
Penrod might not have been there, the rat.
Probably
That's
not.
I don't know. I don't like
And then
the
my
idea that, I don't like the idea that my boy Kelsier would be this tyrant king. You know, he would. I think he would work with him. Like,
I think he
'Cause
would,
the
but
crew-
again, people were like, "Oh, the nobleman wouldn't want to work with him," and so he would say, "Tough luck." And if they fought him, he'd kill them until they relented, because that was
That's
his
true.
way.
that might
He
that
would
might
kill
be
them
fair.
until they relented, and then he says, "Good, be a submissive little nobleman and go scrub my floor while I go rule over the rest of the kingdom.
There might be some of that going
Please
on,
and thank you."
and it's probably a good thing he never figured out he could control the Khandra.
Yeah.
There's more. I think there's more discussion that can happen to this in the spoiler section
Probably.
as well.
And then my last comment is, what is Ellen Vin's name? Is it Elvin or Veland?
Villain.
Villain.
Veland it is. Is there anything else we want to cover here?
Vin is now Vin Venture.
Yes, that's how I always write her name.
Vivi.
Yeah, Bruce Banner,
Every one
Peter
of us
Parker.
has read this multiple times.
So-
Gets to fangirl every time they get married.
So Vin
And hopefully new
has
readers get to join us.
killed Ellen's ex-girlfriend
So,
and his
Ellen's
brother.
ex-fiance, his
Yeah.
fiance.
So
And his brother.
ex-fiance. Well, and honestly,
His
she's
political
killed
rag.
11 brothers.
Right, I was gonna say she's killed a
That's
lot more than
true.
just one brother.
She's killed a lot of Ellen's
She's
brothers.
killed 11 brothers.
Basically,
'Cause
like,
they was
genocided his family now.
She is
because
kinda-
there's 10 if I remember correctly 5 sets of 2 that went and fought him.
Yeah.
Right, and she killed them all.
Yep.
So she's killed 11 brothers
And his
one
fiance.
ex-fiance.
Yep.
No,
Ellen is a dangerous man to be friends with,
we need to get married
or
now
associated with in any way, shape, or form.
while I'm covered in
I
blood.
think Ellen's family just needs to look out for Vin.
It's true.
I'd marry her too.
Don't
dude.
invite her to
Lord.
family
Oh,
function.
oh.
Imagine saying no.
Don't forget, she also killed his god.
That's true.
Right.
Oh, that's so good.
That's very true.
She never.
And she just mind controlled the family's Condra.
She never took out an
Man,
Ecclesia,
when-
did she?
Not yet.
Nope.
No, not at this point. She is not.
But man, when you stop and think about it like that, it's like, Ellen, are you insane? What are you doing? Get away from that crazy. Yikes. Yeesh.
I
This
mean,
girl's keeping a tally mark of all the ventures she's. And another one, and another one, and another. Just one more left.
Hashtag
Stab.
Strav 2023.
I mean, if we just change to Stab Venture, then she succeeded.
Completion 98%.
Is there anything else we would like to talk about in this chapter or this part?
Nope.
Okay, then. Before I move on to the outro, I just want to say next episode we will be covering the first 3 chapters of Part 5, Snow and Ash, so chapters 49, 50, and 51. There have been no bids on DIDs yet. Change fairly quickly. But if there's nothing else to say, then thank you so much for sticking around so far into this episode. We're going to go into the spoilers section now. We highly recommend that if you have not read this book, the entire series, or potentially the Cosmere, you will stop here because it's likely... Wow, I messed that up. It is highly likely that if you have not read this book, the entire series, or potentially the entire Cosmere, you stop here because likely we will talk about everything and anything. However, if you are up to date on this story, feel free to stick around. It's likely we'll bring up details you may have forgotten or plot threads that are still yet to come. Please be sure to subscribe, like, star, heart, or whatever it is on this video or audio, and don't be afraid to comment your own thoughts and predictions. We would love to hear from you. But if this is where we leave you, then my name is Reader, and I have been joined by Swiggity Swoo.
It is time to go, God said.
DragonKeiran,
You're not insane.
John,
Kill him.
and Kay.
Good night.
And this has been Cosmere Connections.
Okay, we got.
And we're back! Kay, what are you looking up? I'm concerned.
No, there's a quote that was funny that was about where maybe it was in this book at the beginning
Are
of
you
the
thinking
book.
about the homicidal hat trick?
Yeah,
That's exactly what I was thinking
I was
too.
thinking about it. I was trying to, was it
Homicidal
hat
hat
trick?
trick, and this. Let's see if I spelled it right, and we'll see which book I have on my phone. I have a set of all 3 of the. It's like the whole trilogy.
I
Is that
thought
one
it
set?
was in.
Oh, nice.
It's not home. I either spelled something wrong. Let me just look for hat trick. I
I
swear
have no
it's.
idea.
Do you not know do we not know what we're talking about?
Do
I
you not
do
know
not
what we're
know.
talking about? I'm
We
glad
are
that you
under.
know what
Hold
I
on.
was talking about, Kieran.
Do.
But basically, hat trick refers to doing something 3 times.
Okay, so I found the phrase, and I just have to figure out which book it's in. It looks like it's in 3.
Right, it is in 3, but I don't remember where
Okay,
it
that might
is.
be why we're confused.
No,
So it is in book 3, chapter 28.
oh, that's why I was
No,
like,
wait, is it?
Kay can call dibs on that.
Yeah.
no, it's just a funny
is.
quote. It's
And
just
then it's just like, right? Ellen smiled. Oh, come on! You have to admit you're unusual, Vin. You're like some strange mixture of a noble one, a street urchin, and a cat. Plus, you've managed in our short 3 years together to kill not only my god, but my father, my brother, and my fiance. That's kind of like a homicidal hat trick. The strange foundation for a relationship, wouldn't you say?
I did not even remember that.
oh, that's one of my favorite quotes.
Oh yeah, it's
so
an awesome
funny.
quote. I'm glad that Kay and I are on the same wavelength for that one, because I literally was thinking that, and I'm like, don't say it, because you're gonna spoil it, and I know it references her father, like his father getting killed, and it hasn't been mentioned in this part of the book yet, so I
That's
can't
really
say
why I
it.
hadn't said anything yet. I didn't say anything about it, and that's why I went and pulled out Hero Ages to try to find that quote. 'Cause where is it?
Oh,
That's
yeah.
honestly the only reason why I've been going through and buying all of his ebooks. Like every time they go on sale, I go buy his ebooks, is just so I can search them. I want the search function. It's literally worth.
super
I don't know. It
smart.
was like $5 for all 3 books, the entire trilogy. I got on the sale. It's worth the search function.
There.
Okay, let's try to go through these spoiler section chapters. So I don't think there's anything in 44. Would anybody like to correct me? This is where we've got Breeze watching Set's army leaves. We've got Ham and Spook and Ellen talking about how crazy Vin is. And then Ellen in Camen's lair with Vin.
Kelsier thought he was a god. I don't want to be like him, said Vin, who ends up briefly becoming god.
Yeah.
More of a joke.
Well, technically Kelsier does too.
Yeah.
But she says she doesn't want to be like him, though. So
Yeah.
that's another ding against her, because not only does she not get idolized as like a religion, he becomes a god, and then she becomes a god after he becomes a god.
And then she becomes
She
pretty
becomes a god
idealized.
because he gives her the power.
Yeah.
So
I guess we do also have the story about the earring and how Vin's sister was killed by that earring, and Vin's sister was a seeker.
Yes, so that's what I was going to say earlier, was that Vin's sister was a seeker, so she had to have been part noble woman. So she had to have been part noble to have that blood in her to be able to access those powers. So, and her sister
which
had to
means
have stabbed
Davidian
as well.
had 2 kids.
So Davidian had to have been her sister's dad as well.
It could have been another noble, though. Like, I like the idea that it was a twin, because that just solves a whole lot of problems, but it could have
But
been
she was
another noble.
younger.
We don't
Is
know
she-
that for sure.
We don't know, but you don't call your twin your baby sister.
Kay's gonna check it with us, though. We're
Remember,
gonna do
we've
a
already
whole
done
special
this
episode.
another time. It has no reference. It just says younger sister, and she calls her her baby sister, but at no point it does actually say twin anywhere. We've gone down this road before.
I do like the twin
We
thing,
have-
though.
It's a fun idea, but
Yeah.
we don't have there's no confirmation either way. Was our conclusion
We'll get it
last
soon.
time.
We'll get it by the end of the year.
But we do have confirmation that the sister was also the daughter of Davidian.
Oh, okay. Anything else from 44? Nope. Let's move into 45. So, is the hero technically Terrace? Because Sazed was kicked out.
So, the
Yes. Just because he's getting kicked out of Terrace doesn't mean he's not
it's
Terrace blooded.
but I think that's one of the things that's been manipulated by Ruin as well. like saying that that will not be terrorists.
Yeah.
Let me check the couple for the.
Is that why it's
My guess
like,
is that's probably what, like, he will not be terrorist. He's probably altering. Remember the piece I believe that they read on later is talking about, like, he will not be of the people. Like, he'll be rejected by the people, but like, will be
They
like.
will
The
come
Hero of
toward
Ages
him.
was
Either state.
removed from the Terrace people. He was not royalty himself, but came to it eventually. One who is separated from the Terrace people, a king of men, a rebel caught between two worlds.
Separated
Removed
from them,
and removed from the terrorist people. He was kicked out of the Synod.
but that doesn't mean that he will not be terrorist.
So Ruin literally took removed and swapped that out with not. The Hero of Ages was not from the Terrace people.
Essentially, yeah.
Well, he got lazy there.
I mean, why do more work when you're an evil god of destruction when you can swap out one word? Like, come on. If I had that much power, I'm not going to use it to just swap out words. I'd be lazy. I'd be lazy, man.
Well, he's still caged, kind of, at this point.
Yeah. What happened to the book that Sazed and Tindwyl were writing? What happened to that?
What do you mean?
Like,
after
at what point do you lose track of it?
Like what happened? Like I don't really remember it. Like
So
they bring it up in
he
that
makes
chapter.
the book and he hands it to Tindwyl, and then in like literally the next chapter, Tindwyl and Ellen get in a big fight, and then she's just like, "Fine, you take the book." Basically, flings it at his face and like stalks off, and he's like, "Okay," puts it in his bag, and then basically it's forgotten until Sazed is sitting there looking like waiting for Ellen to come back and Vin to wake up, and then he's like reading it. That's the next piece that you see is he's like, which speaking of which, like, how did he have the book to read?
I think that they had a copy. They had made a copy.
Did he have two? Oh, he made a copy. Oh yes, he had made a copy to send, and so he had the original
Because
that they put together with both of their handwritings, and they had someone probably make a
Yeah.
copy to send off to Terrace. That makes sense.
And I
So he has
remember
it and can leaf through it.
I just completely forgot about it.
I think in the next book, maybe, that he mentions that
He has it at the end.
At some point, he mentions that he leaves it in a spot for the other terracemen to find.
No, he said he could, and he was going to.
He could.
But he doesn't, because they see at the very end, when the book ends, he actually has it because he goes into the chamber with the Khandra, and he says, "Hey, let's take a look at what ruins changed," and he pulls out his copy of the book.
Oh, okay.
And he says, "Here's my copy. You guys, from your memory, let's write down what you want, like what you can remember, and that's how we're going to compare the changes to see what Ruin didn't want us to know based on your memory versus my written copy." So you actually see him, he carries it through all of book 3, and basically you don't ever see it until he gets into that, right, into the big sacred
Gotcha. I didn't remember
hullabaloo
that.
spot. And then he pulls it out. So he literally has it up until the end of the book.
Okay. And then my other note is how did preservation was removing all the lines. How were all of the tears the exact same?
Because it's preservation.
So he removed all of them at the exact same time?
It doesn't have to be at the same time.
But like no matter
he's a god. He's a god.
He's not all there.
Doesn't matter.
I can get
a fraction of infinity is still a heck of a lot more than you.
All of them, but how are the tears the exact same? That I do not understand.
Point.
That's supposed to be a signal.
That's the signal is that it's from God.
It's divine.
Not a natural
But he's
and
this is an act of ruin.
Reader. Even
no,
when
it's
you
not.
Tear
He's preserving
two
the
things
pieces
at the same time. The
and they're going to
tears
be
aren't
different.
gonna be they're gonna be different.
They're going to be different. That's like literally
So,
something that Sazed
preservation
mentions.
stacked everything and then ripped it all.
No.
No.
He very specifically says he doesn't do that. That's the oddity, is because he uses, like, literally no one physical could do this. And that's why he does it, is because he's not ruining, he's preserving a piece of the script, putting it somewhere else as a signal, but he's preserving a piece of the script, but he's using his godlike powers to make it otherworldly so they notice it.
This is the one thing that gets me. I'm sorry.
Ruin and
So you're saying
preservation-
God can't replicate a tear?
I'm saying preservation
Man,
cannot commit an act of ruin perfectly over multiple times.
Not ruining.
But it's preservation because it's preserving the exact.
He's trying to preserve the
positioning.
original memory.
Swiggity, what were you going to say? Because I also have another.
But, so it's preservation and ruin are both altering the texts.
So ruin is altering the writing. Preservation can't change writing.
For some reason.
He's not strong enough.
He's a well.
Okay.
It's also the same thing of like preservation can read people's minds, but ruin
can talk to people.
Ruin
You
can
think
talk
part of
to
that?
people in their minds, but preservation can't.
I can see that.
That might lead into my thing of why can't preservation affect metal minds? Considering that the magic of metallurgy, be it Mistborn,
It's
Ferrochemist, or Inquisitor.
Ferrochemy is a perfect balance between the two.
Yeah, it's not of
Then-
preservation or ruin. It's
That's so symbolic.
in between.
But ruin can influence a metal mind. That's one of the things, is that he changed metal minds.
Because again,
But-
he can change it. That's the thing about ruining, is he can degrade the memories in there.
Okay.
He can
It's-
change
and
the memories.
It's
But
like
then why
basically
couldn't he
messing
just erase the memory? If that's an act of preserving, if it's an act of preserving the true memories, why can't he do that to the metal minds?
Preservation can't change writing. He can't change things that are
Yeah.
already done.
But it's
And that's why he doesn't change the
So-
wording back. He just pulls off a piece of paper.
But I'm saying, why can't he do that in the metal minds? If the metal minds are a neutral ground.
Because there's not a way to pull.
Because he can't reach into something like ruin can reach into your mind. He can reach into a metal mind.
Plus, they're probably.
Couldn't he
keys to
have
their
just
identity.
randomly tossed it into? Couldn't he have just randomly tossed into a random folder under the metal mind tab? Like the metal minds we have seen are organized in files. Couldn't he have just plopped out that word and just tossed it into medical science for dogs?
Oh,
Yeah, they'll
also-
never find it there.
Also, part of the preservation wanted to draw their attention to that. To be like this something to have them think, to have them realize that something is wrong here.
And I found it's the tearing thing that gets me.
I love
You're
it.
the only one.
It's this one little detail.
I would be lying if I said I haven't gotten hung up on details like that before. So like I'm not gonna like give you crap for it.
Honestly, if Dragon hadn't explained,
I've gotten
the
hung up on
ATM
details
thing,
like that.
I was feeling similarly about the whole ATM thing until Dragon explained it like that.
There you go. It's okay. I get hung up on details too. I'm still going to give you crap for it, though, reader.
Oh, thanks.
You're welcome.
Anything else for 45 then?
So basically,
I feel like I hijacked that one.
Tyndall and Sazed's whole conversation is just like Sazed, like in his arc, like because they're just talking about like, oh, these religions have no value, you know, they're just these dead dreams, and Sazed's like, no, it turns out there actually is some value to it. And, I mean, obviously, once he uses the knowledge from those religions to put the world back together, it's really cool to see this chapter where he's defending those values as early as this.
Right?
Oh, I love the part where Tyndall's like, I don't like perpetuating a lie. It's all you've been doing with this book.
Wait, can you explain that? What do you mean by that? I'm sorry.
The fact that the whole thing with what they're trying to uncover is Ruin's manipulation. It is a lie. Finn being the hero and needing to give up the power.
Yeah, I gotcha.
The whole thing is a lie.
So it's just it's a bit of irony
Yeah.
that she doesn't want to do that.
I seek no lies.
Okay. How about chapter 46? This is Sazed's secret meeting. Vin in Kredik Shaw and Straff saying goodbye to Zane.
Did you guys mention in 40? Actually, I was here for 46. I don't know why I'm saying this. She sees footprints.
Yes,
in
I
Kredik Shaw.
didn't want to make it too obvious, but yes, she
But
did
that's
see
part of it. So
footprints.
honestly, I didn't like my brain forgot about it. Until I'm bringing this up, but she does mention it, and we should have pointed it out and gone. There are footprints in here. Who's walking around? Of course, we learn later it's Marsh, but at the same time,
And there's
There
also
was-
a mention
think Hayes got
earlier
it.
in the book. There was a mention earlier in the book of someone seeing an Inquisitor.
someone seeing an Inquisitor walking near Kredik Shaw, near the center of the city.
Yeah, that's why I wasn't going to draw too much attention to it. I had brought it up when I did my summary, and I feel like that's good enough. I didn't want to focus too hard on it like we did with maybe Orsier / Tensoon throughout this book. Where we
Right.
kept saying, wow, Orsier's acting really nice all of a sudden.
He
This
is
a great
really
growth for his
different.
character.
Hint.
I noticed his voice
Uh-huh.
changed when he became a dog.
Cool. 47. Anything in 47? Any unanswered questions with Atium, gods, insanity,
Well,
random kissing while you're stabbing someone?
Have we just straight out said that Ruin is talking to Zane? Have we said that on this podcast? I feel
No,
like we always
I
miss
don't-
the really obvious stuff.
No,
I don't think we
We
never
have not.
directly said it.
we
Yeah.
have not directly
Ruin
stated
is
that.
God.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's why I
No.
wouldn't convince her, because she's also spiked, so why would I have you kill her?
Well,
It's
also
like having
because
Inquisitors kill each other. That's so dumb. Like, why would you do that?
also because he wants Vin to go
He wants
And-
Vin to go and free him, so of course, why
go
would
and
he
free
then-
him. So
Why would he
he's
tell
like,
Zane to go kill? So, two
Yeah.
reasons. She's a very valuable pawn, and she's a very, very valuable pawn.
Yeah. In which we do
Spike.
see Zane's spike in this chapter.
Right, which I liked that. It's like, you're like, he has a spike in him. And no one reading this
And-
at this point understands the depth of what that means. They just go, he has a
Yeah.
spike in him. And if they're
And-
really smart, they go, ooh, Inquisitors have spikes in them. But that's as far as they get.
and that
You
is why Tensoon doesn't want to eat Zane's
I was going
body.
to bring that up.
Is because
Oh.
of the heme allergy. Is
Mhm.
because
Does he
he
know?
knows. Yes, because he knows about the spike. So he knows that body has had heme allergy attached to it, which is why
How does
he's
he
like,
know?
because he knows about the spike. And
How does he know about the
Tensoon-
spike?
That's what
Because
cons
he
would
could
do.
see it.
I would think that Tensoon would know, and I actually have that in my
Yeah.
notes for chapter 47. Is that Tensoon knew Zane was spiked, and that's why he didn't want to take her body.
Okay.
Oop. I was going to say
But
something
in
and now it's
40
gone.
But in 46, I did want to mention: do we think with Kredik Shaw and how we have that room that is terrace, basically, is it maybe perhaps that Brashek didn't make a room to look like his home, or is it likely that was his home and he built Kredik Shaw around it?
I kind of like.
I
the
mean, when you're
second one.
moving around a world, it probably wouldn't be very hard to take your tent
Exactly.
and or at least take all the trappings from his tent. It probably isn't his actual his
And build a little
spear
castle
or
around
whatever or something, right? Because that's the thing is but his village is over here. He's up in the mountains and he just goes squishy mountains, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I build Kredik Shaw. He just throws down his spikes and builds himself in the city. Or I don't know if he does it when he's all powerful, and then says, "I'm gonna come right back here and build my palace," and make it look all creepy and stuff. But like, yeah, when you're throwing stuff around, like right as he's about to like be done, he's like, "Ooh."
I think that's his home. I think
belongings, and have him fly to him.
I think that's his. I think if I were to make the movie, I would have it. There's dirt, like you're in stone. Then there's dirt. It is literally where his place was, and how this is where his tent was. Sure, there's stuff on the walls now, but
it wouldn't be exactly where it was. It could maybe be he grabbed it and moved the whole thing, but it.
Why couldn't it be exactly
Reader,
where it was?
Reader, I like what you're saying, but that wouldn't work because the floor has to be stone because they have to be able to pull the trapdoor up out of the floor.
The trapdoor isn't inside the building within the building. It's inside of the large room where the building is inside the building.
And it's not directly. Yeah, I see what you mean. So he would have had to move it. Okay, but I still like the idea of.
Yes.
I thought it was in the building.
That's why I say he just echoed his belongings.
Okay. I like my thing, but that works.
I know you like your thing. You're wrong, but I know you like your thing. I'm just kidding.
That's what headcanon is for.
Headcanon, exactly. It's a lot more in-depth thinking about his belongings than I've put into it, so that's cool.
Anything else for 46?
Is it 47?
47.
When they're fighting and the mists are like attracted to Zane, but also kind of
repelled.
That's because of the spike. I don't know what that's for. I don't know why that is.
Yeah. Because Allomancy is being pushed back. Because Preservation's power is being pushed back by Ruins.
Because Ruins' power is Hemalurgy, Preservation's is Allomancy. So
Allomancy pulls it in, and then Ruin pushes it back.
And then, like, how did you guys picture that? Like, just curious, what would that look like, you think? Because I kind of imagined, like, a wavy spiral around him.
Maybe it's at, like, the bottom of his feet. Maybe it's better at getting closer to him, and then when it gets to, like, his chest where the spike is, it's, like, pushing out away.
Cool. Yeah, like
maybe like how like a fan can push something back.
Yeah.
Like maybe just like flapping your hand in a small little thing of wind. You don't want to be too obvious.
I'm just imagining Zane. There's like mist coming, and Chibi Zane's like, back. There you go.
Oh, we forgot to bring it up in the non-spoiler section. We've got to update the counter of dead crew members. Because now we've got confirmation that Orsier is dead.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were going to say that, like, Zane counted as a crew member, and I was going to be like...
You do?
Scratch.
Huh, interesting.
Nope. Okay, you've got to update the counter.
Do I? Oh, yep. Okay. I got it.
Orsier is no longer with us.
How many people have we got so far?
I'm
That
gonna
gun doesn't snuff it?
Renew.
We've got Yeadon, Renew, and now Orsier. It's going to update 2 more times.
Well, Renew was Orsier.
Yeah, so I just...
You can't count that
twice. I just erased Renew and put Orsier.
Okay. I don't know what I was
thinking. Like, that can't
Renew?
count. Renew shouldn't have ever been on there. Because we very quickly found, like, you would have found out Renew is dead, and then like literally the next chapter it's like Renew's not dead.
Yep. Yeah, so I guess we just changed Renew.
We just didn't update it after.
But you didn't put Kelsier.
It's okay. Give it 5 more chapters and then we'll have a lot higher of a count.
Kelsier is in the dead but not.
Yeah.
But how dead is he?
Yeah.
I mean, if we're doing a count for non-spoiler, he's part of the dead crew. So
yeah,
non-spoiler, Kelsier and Yeadon, and now Orsier.
Mm-hmm.
Spoiler section, just Yeadon and Orsier.
So we know that at the beginning of this chapter, Vin was definitely getting some energy off of Preservation. She was feeling his pulses. And then we get throughout this entire fight how the mist was inside the room and how it was pooling at their feet or something.
Yeah.
Is it possible that preservation was trying to help Vin out, try to push his power into her? It was just that the hearing just made it impossible.
Possibly. Is it that preservation was trying to help her because he didn't want her to die. But he couldn't help because she still had the earring in her ear.
No, I like that theory. I like that a lot. Because usually it doesn't really come into buildings like that.
Yeah. In which there's even like a comment how Vin says, Ellen always says it's a mixture of air pressure and heat or something. I was like, no, it's not.
Right, but I mean, we see it start happening later, like when they're traveling out, it goes into the tent.
Well, it never goes all the way in. It never pools at the floor at this degree, though.
Doesn't it when they're traveling away?
No, it always stays out of the tent. We argued this a while back, is why does the mist not enter places?
Right, we have that argument, but we know that later I'm pretty sure later on in 3 at least it starts entering because as it stays around, it starts invading places. Or is this literally the only time that it ever enters? Let's put that something is for all of us to watch out for. Is this truly the only time that mist enters a building?
I like that.
Because if this truly is the only time, then
We'll keep an eye out for it.
I think when Spook sneaks into the building that's across the square from the people, and he says that the window is open, and I'm pretty sure he comments that the room is filled with mist, but he can't really tell. I'll have to look into that.
Okay. I don't remember. But that might have been Kelsier doing some weird stuff. We forgot to bring up that the thug that almost killed Vin was a plant, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. He does mention that. He's like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I planted all those people in Set's army. I'm like, what the heck?
When God says, no, I didn't want you to kill her, I kept hearing the song, God Was Never on Your Side. That's all I've been hearing for like the past hour now.
I know that seems like nobody on this podcast got what I was talking about last time, but this is like a It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia level like scheme for Zane to pull of just like, oh, I'm gonna hire all these elementers and I'm gonna get them to. It's just gonna seem like they're in Set's army, but they're gonna be with me, and I'm gonna hire the dog. Like just. Like
when you say it like that, it sounds ridiculous.
Like to manipulate someone. Like, oh my god.
Anything for 48?
47? That was the last of it for me.
I know, but I was moving on.
Yep,
48.
Oh, 48. I don't have anything
Sorry,
either here.
You cut out. Sorry.
It was a dope segue, good. But it did kind of sound like you said 40.
Oh, I said 48.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Another what-if question. If the Koloss did work the way Jastes wanted it, and they didn't kill him, and he continued to pay them, do we think his empire would look more like Set's or Straff's, or would it have turned into something like Ellen's?
I think it would have been more like Set's.
Just kills people and moves on.
Mm-hmm.
Because we did see that he tried it his way in his dominion and everybody killed him. But do we think that maybe he still holds on to the ideals that he had? Or has he completely abandoned them?
No, I think he's completely abandoned them.
I think so too. I think he was never as engaged with the politics as Ellen was. And then what happened to him was really tragic. But at this point, he's like so far
He
gone.
deserves it.
Yeah. He deserves it.
He does. And my like is how Sazed just plays Vin and Ellis. By people who they trust and expect not to lie. It's Sazed. And he just, oh, by the way, there's a map.
Yeah, just like straight up lies to them about that. But he is able to persuade them to leave the city, which was his goal.
Nope. I mean, thank goodness that, like, the day he was like, we need to get them out of the city. We need to find a way for them to somehow want to leave. And then Zane shows up, tries to kill her. She wants to leave anyway. Now she's got nothing holding her back. They're now married, so now they're going to go together. Wow, I am lucky. Sunset's wrapping up the bandages like, suckers.
It was pretty convenient. And they just like believed him too. They're like, okay, yeah, I'll abandon the city I just spent this whole book trying to protect.
Mm-hmm. That's all I've got for 48.
Anybody else?
Anything else for this chapter or these sets of chapters?
Nope.
I have nothing.
Okie dokie. Well then, I guess that's going to be it. That's going to be it for our show. Thank you very much for joining us on our ramblings and predictions, and please be sure to remember that there's always another connection. Have a nice night.
Yeah.
Have a good one.
Bye, guys.
Yeah, I met up with Dragon this past year.
That's cool.
And you didn't take any pictures.
Nope, we did not take any pictures.
I respect that.
You had a meeting with 1/3 of the entire podcast, and you didn't take any photos.
1/3?
Yeah, there's 6 of us. If we count one
Oh.
still with us.
Oh, true, I guess, yeah.
I updated I updated the specific books page for the next part. I split it up. The first 3 chapters are going to be, and then we're going to do 4 because I was debating which one to split it up, but 52 is where the Sanderlanche technically starts.
What starts the Sanderlanche?
Yeah, I
The
was about
last
to ask
100
that.
pages.
No, but like, what in 52? Why is 52 the start of the Sanderlanche?
Because that's where the 100 pages start.
Okay, but like,
Hmm.
is that the only reason that you picked that?
Well, it was either that one or the chapter above it. And I figured, why not just start off by saying we're now in the Sand? Why not start it off by saying we're in the Sanderlanche?
Wait,
What's going on in the chapters?
I believe in 51, Vin started learning how to use horseshoes,
It just kind
and
of
Breeze almost dies.
Kind of feels like by the time Zane and Vin are fighting, we're in Sanderlanche territory.
Yeah, but then we've got this buffer of now they're traveling, they're preparing for the fight. There's a small buffer.
True.
The Sanderlanche starts in the last 100 pages by rule of book.
By rule
Oh.
of random.
51 is when Ellen kills Jastes.
Oh, that's a good one to end on.
And when Vin realizes that The well is in Luthadel.
Sazed lied to them.
And so that's when she starts running. That's when she starts her run.
Lies to the people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
But I thought it would be nice to start it at the last 100 pages.
yeah.
Sazed does lie. He lies a lot.
That was my only reason. Because they were pretty well interconnected. It could go either way, so I made the executive decision as the guy who types it out.
Now that's a Nintendoocracy.
Oh, what?